Top 3 most anticipated characters. Go.
Oh, easy. Gambit, Storm, Nightcrawler. Bam.
Hey guys, I'm Paul.
I'm Devin, and today we are talking about the news that just came out by Roxley Games about the future of Dice Thrones, and that future is X-Men. We are so pumped about this. It actually is funny because just last week during our live stream, we were playing Dice Thrones, and it kind of came up what we thought their new announcement was, and we both kind of went with we thought it was an IP sort of route. Definitely not the IP that we thought.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about it, we were throwing out a couple different things. You know, Star Wars was one that we thought would be super awesome. You know, having a Darth Vader character and like a Luke Skywalker going head to head. Or, you know, we also threw out maybe Lord of the Rings. You know, those are just some big IPs that I feel like would be converted into Dice Throne fairly well. But X-Men, that's just on a whole nother level. We both love X-Men.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy because... anybody that knows me knows I am a diehard Marvel fan, and although X-Men, yes, it is coming into Marvel, I am so much more of an X-Men fan, right? Yeah. I grew up with the 90s X-Men animated series. It is still my ringtone. To this day, right? And so I am just, man, I am over the moon that this is where it went. I honestly we had talked, I would have been okay with more Marvel characters, and I didn't think they were going to go that route. I'm so glad that they went this route, you know? And we mentioned those kind of other big IPs, and I just kind of blanked on X-Men being a kind of game-selling IP. But man, I'm super pumped that we're getting this.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? With Marvel Champions just releasing X-Men, you know, or they're still releasing the X-Men. It's kind of hot right now, and with it being introduced into the MCU, you got to strike while the iron's hot.
All right, Paul, so I kind of teased what I'm excited for. Who are you hoping's in this?
So mine's a little bit different than yours. I think we've talked about it before. I think Gambit is both of our favorites, so I'm super excited to see Gambit out there. I think Mystique is a really cool character. I think they could do some really interesting things with her. But I also want to see them introduce some villains, right? Like in the Marvel box that they just released, they had Loki, and that was really the only villain. And he has some really cool abilities. I would love to see like a Juggernaut in there, right? Somebody that's just going to go in and just make damage happen, right? You know, just some other villain in there that might change it up a little bit.
Yeah, so that's interesting you bring up villains, because if you think about the Marvel box, Loki is the only villain, you know, and he floats there. So I'm curious if they're going to do that, if they're going to hold to just an X-Men team, because they got countless, you know, mainline, offshoot mutants that have been X-Men. So I am kind of curious which route they will go, because I can see it both ways, you know. You mentioned Juggernaut, right? Of course, you have Magneto. Mystique kind of falls in
that
there.
Loki kind of character, right?
You know, maybe Sabretooth, but then you kind of get to further back villains, you know. And so, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm also curious what X-Men they actually bring, right? Like, you would think, Wolverine for sure, but
not
Marvel
necessarily.
Didn't have... Iron Man, you know?
Or Captain America, right? Like those big names.
So yeah, it'll just be really interesting to see who they decide to bring in. Of course, the ones I mentioned. I think Storm kind of falls in this. She's in everything because she's not the top, but she's well known. I love Storm, right? For sure. I could see, you know, they probably throwing in something like an Iceman, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. Because I feel like when they do the box sets, they usually have some fillers in there. And although he was one of the original X-Men, he kind of now goes more into what I would put in the filler line. So I'm really curious to see what actually comes from this.
So if these characters do come into play, what are some of the abilities that you would like to see? Like, what would some of those unique status effects be? What do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, right, you talk about somebody like Wolverine, it's got to be like during upkeep you heal X amount.
From his adamantium, all that, right?
Yeah, so we mentioned Mystique. I could see her, maybe you copy an ability of somebody somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how that would work, but I don't know. Maybe you roll a dice and you copy. I don't know exactly, but you copy somebody's ability.
Going into Nightcrawler, you know, his Bamf, right? Like he's probably going to be somebody like Moon Elf, right? That's just really evasive, like roll a dice and take no damage kind of thing, right? I think that he'll be a very agile kind of character.
Yeah.
Somebody like Gambit, right? They're all about powering up stuff, right? So maybe like the Black Panther where he's gaining those kinetic tokens and then he all of a sudden explodes. You know, Gambit might have something like that where he can throw a little bit here, like his cards, or he can power up and have a big explosion. I don't know. Something like that.
What if it's like some sort of token? I think more along the lines of like Artificer, where it could be card tokens, you know, and maybe you start off with a 2 and it flips over if if you collect it a second time to an ace and it's stronger damage or something like that.
That'd
I don't know. Or it'd be a unique style token.
Yeah, and I can see Storm having something, you know, like controlling the weather, right? Like, I don't know, maybe having some type of fog that makes you evade some damage, or controlling like an actual storm where it adds more damage. I don't know. There's tons of possibilities.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. Right, X-Men. It's just, man, it's X-Men. It's awesome. We can't wait. We can't wait until there's more news and we get to know a little bit more. Hopefully, soon they at least announce or tease some of the characters that are actually going to be in there.
Yeah.
I assume this is eventually going to come to Kickstarter, and that's when we'll finally get to see ability. So, man, there's just kind of so much exciting news on the horizon that can't wait for.
And until then, tell us in the comments below who your most anticipated characters are. Tell us what status effects or what abilities you want to see on them. Because at this point, we're all just theorizing, and I want to hear them.
Yeah, so that's all we have today. Nothing really of substance. But we're excited nonetheless. So please like, comment, subscribe. All those things help us, help our channel grow. We'll hopefully see you with more news on the next one.
Top 3 anticipated... Nope.
Hey guys, I'm Devin.
And I'm Paul. And today we're talking about the...